We are into 2025. I think it's abundantly clear to everyone the way it has started. We won't get into that. We're talking the beautiful game here on the Soccer OG, and I'm going to take this opportunity to look at the year ahead for U.S. men's soccer, the USMNT. While 2025 isn't 2026, probably isn't 2024 with the Copa America, it is a means to an end. It is an apparatus which will determine by and large how 2026 goes. So it has its major importance for the biggest tournament U.S. soccer will ever participate in, and until something bigger comes around, will be the biggest sporting event in the history of the world. Has there ever been anything bigger? 2030 might top it, but 2026, bigger than Olympics, bigger than Super Bowls. This is going to be it because of the size and scope. But let's focus on 2025. I was watching in the news, and I don't want to be guilty of what I'm going to be critical of, people dwelling on Greg Berhalter, because Greg Berhalter addressed Chicago Fire press conference. He's now in charge there. And I just want everyone to put Greg Berhalter in the rearview mirror. I know it's impossible for some folks because he has been a beacon. I understand old habits die hard. He said something about it was the best 6 years. Who cares? He did what he was supposed to do. He fell on his face in the Copa America, which he acknowledged. But let's move forward and let's not worry about it because it's 2020. The future looks bright, baby. And I want to say this is what I wanted to say. Without Greg Berhalter being appointed when he was, hiring Mauricio Pochettino would have never happened. We would have never hired Mauricio Pochettino back there in 2018. I don't think we were equipped. We had to put the pieces in place. Greg Berhalter had to do his tenure. Should have been shorter. I agree with you there. But now we're in this position with one of the top managers in the world. So, let's get the positive until Mauricio Pochettino fails, which he won't. He won't. I'm sorry I put that out there. Bad Max, bad OG. We're going to go through the calendar, and I'm going to give you some key players to watch this year, which will be critical in 2025, and hopefully that'll help you get through this year in a timely fashion. We talked about the opening January camp. I have a video out there. Check out the Soccer OG, like and subscribe. Hit that like button, smash it, subscribe, leave a comment, do whatever is required. Check out old videos like my January camp video, which is there. It's one video over. Simple, classic. And I discuss the January camp. I wanted to add one little note about the January camp. And the big takeaway I said was that Mauricio Pochettino is doing what he does best, coaching, with whistle in hand, on the field, giving tests, giving feedback, making these players better. And I just want to remind everyone, they checked in on January 7th. This camp goes through January 22nd on that second game. That's, 2.5 weeks? 2 weeks in a day. These players under Mauricio Pochettino, chef's kiss. Brilliant. So that'll run its course. We have these two games. It's we got to temper, and no one's excited about that camp. I'm giving you a few things to get a little excited about, but you don't have to be super excited about it. I get it. The big tournament will happen in March, the Nations League semifinals. Because of that qualification, the U.S. are also into the Gold Cup. It's not a foregone conclusion. It's a tournament they host. We'll talk about that in a moment. The Nations League is March the 20th and 22nd. USA will play Panama, which is becoming a big rivalry. And Canada will take on Mexico. Those games will take place at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, here in our backyard, my backyard. So I'm very excited about that. The plan is to attend, maybe do an OG from the most incredible stadium ever built. I don't know how they're going to fill that place. But we will start feeling in 2025 the excitement for 2026, because it won't just be U.S. soccer and you and me talking about it. Advertisers, you'll see commercials, you'll see players being placed. Everyone's getting ready for the World Cup. You can see it now with the content creators and what we're doing on the big stage. I'm doing my best to get the word out to make it as big as possible. And we'll talk about the players. We're just going through the calendar here first. The Nations League, the United States have won it the last 3 years. They will be favorites to do it again. If Mauricio Pochettino doesn't win it, don't freak out. Even though Greg Berhalter won it each time, or at least with BJ winning one of those as well. But this has been the U.S.'s tournament, and they should definitely reach the final. Canada having some issues, although they had a great Copa America. Mexico getting a little bit better, and we see some of their players doing doing well. Whomever comes out there, obviously SoFi Stadium would like to see USA Mexico. We can't get enough USA Mexicos. It feels like we don't get as many as we used to. So bring it on. But we like USA Canadas. And this is what we get. We're in CONCACAF. We're going to get a lot of CONCACAF games. We're getting a lot of home games, which was a criticism in the past because I don't know if it's hard or we're lazy. We just don't get a good away games. But we're hosting the World Cup, so I guess it doesn't really matter this time around. It will matter in the future when we have to travel. But look, that's a long ways away. It's a long ways away. We focus on the here and now, 2025 and 2026. The Nations League roster will probably determine what the Gold Cup will look like and probably what the World Cup roster. I feel Mauricio Pochettino's not going to get caught up on too much of the fringe players. We saw that at the end of 2024. We'll get a good idea, that Nations League. He is not dealing with dual nationals, as we have seen, which isn't a real positive. He should be diligent, even though he is not the long-term coach for the U.S. Maybe that changes. But dual nationals, and there are some talented ones play in Europe. Henri Chase at the top of my list. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. He is going with this group, which could mean he's quite content with what he has, although we see some holes, to put it nicely. It's not a perfect team. We got some great stuff. We've seen what Christian Pulisic has been able to do, and certainly with Yunus Musa at AC Milan, and Weston McKennie is improving all the time, and the PSV guys, so many bright spots. Less on the defensive end. We could use some help, but maybe it's too late to integrate those players. Look, I don't want to keep talking about Greg Berhalter, but I thought he did a really good job of that, integrating all these players, vetting this team to where the squad that we have is rock solid. There's not going to be a lot of newcomers. It was a young team back in 2022 with a couple exceptions, but now it is a team that is experienced, is wise to the world because of club and country, and we lean into that. But that is what the process was. Greg Berhalter knew that, and now Mauricio Pochettino inherits that, and it's a really good position to be. This is the World Cup in 2026 for the U.S. In 2030, this is going to be a bit over the hill group, at least the core guys, and we'll have to look for newer players. But right now, this is the sweet spot that they are heading into. This is what they have been building up all the way back since 2018, 19, and 20 to be the leaders of this team. So the Nations League leads to the Gold Cup, which will take place in June, July. It conflicts with the Club World Cup, so some players may not be available for that tournament. Juventus is in the Club World Cup, so Weston McKennie and Tim Weah could be in peril. Those are the main ones. I don't know. Gio Reyna plays for Dortmund unless he comes back into a big way. We can't anticipate that. We'll see what that looks like. It should be a loaded team. FIFA's not requiring them to release players for the Gold Cup. But Mauricio Pochettino knows this is his last chance of an organized tournament of this nature where he can mimic the World Cup. It's going to be an expanded Gold Cup. There were hopes it would be a 24-team tournament with invitees from Asia and South America. It's not going to be that. There's Saudi Arabia's in there. From the time I'm creating this video, 16 teams. So you're going to have to find a way to get better within the confines of CONCACAF. It ain't perfect, but it's what we have. So the Gold Cup tournament that U.S. has won, but not the last time around. They had a B-side team. They lost to Panama. Mexico went on to win it, so you want to regain that crown. But it's getting this team ready, which is the key for the United States. And we'll know the rest of the field. But you'll have Mexico and Canada and all the others that we are familiar with. Panama, which has become that fourth big team. Hopefully some of these CONCACAF teams get better. You know, Piojo Herrera taking over in Costa Rica. Dwight York is at Trinidad and Tobago. They'll get better, but really only the main three big ones, USA, Mexico, and Canada. And that's it for the major tournaments. There is discussions that the U.S. is going to fill the summer with some important friendlies. There is one where England is mentioned, which would be fantastic for a variety of reasons, not only playing a World Cup winning caliber team, but also England, which will get people excited for the World Cup, because we played them in the last World Cup. Maybe we'll play them again. It's become a nice rivalry. So we'll be able to test ourselves against an England team that has arguably the best talent in the world. They're not the best team, but you look at the English player, it's up there. Not quite at France or Brazil, but certainly up there. I don't have a list, but England is in that top 5 somewhere. There will be games at the back end of 2025, and you can't have enough games. So we'll look forward to what that calendar appears like. But in the meantime, we have January, we have March, we have the summer with the Gold Cup. We can do with that, and we got to squeeze every drop out of those experiences, and we'll have England in there. And by the time the summer rolls around, we will be in World Cup mode. Everything will be like a year from now. We are 365 days away. Sorry about my announcer voice. It just felt like the right thing to do. But we will be getting there. And certainly by the summer, we will know, that I think, the makeup of the World Cup team. Did want to hit you with some key players to watch. I have no concerns for Christian Pulisic or Weston McKennie. The goalkeeper could be a concern, but it would appear it's Matt Turner's job still. So while that could change, I'm not going to sit here and give you candidates because I don't really have one. They're Anthony Robinson, Joe Scally, Serginho Dest. I think I'd put him on that list because hopefully he gets healthy. Is a guy we want to see integrated back into the national team, and he is online to do that. That starting spot is his. We'll see if he meshes up with regards to Mauricio Pochettino. Joe Scally getting a lot of great press because he's reached a threshold in the Bundesliga where he's made 100 appearances at his age, which I can't remember, it's 21, 22, and only 4 players have ever done that at his age. So Joe Scally is certainly seizing that opportunity, and doesn't matter that he's not right-footed. Well, Anthony Robinson certainly is there, so you can have some wiggle room. But Serginho Dest, we want to see him back, and that's an important development for sure. Inside of him, I'm going to put in Mark McKenzie, because Mark McKenzie, while it's not Tim Ream who would be the leader of the defense at this stage, it looks like Tim Ream would be part of the World Cup roster. He's in the January camp, which I think is pretty telling, because otherwise he may have been given a break, but he doesn't want a break. Can he make it to the summer of 2026? I don't know if he will be optimal. I think that's safe to say. Chris Richards would be the candidate to take over, but I'm really curious of Mark McKenzie's trajectory, because it's been a good one. Richards has been good, but we've seen him on the national team, and it's been... Maybe it'll click into place, but Mark McKenzie's looked a little more comfortable, certainly in those games on the back end of 2024. We need center backs to step up. Hopefully 2, at the very least 1. I think McKenzie and Richards are the candidates. It's a big drop-off after that. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty, Miles Robinson, not at the level of those guys you would hope. If one of those guys I mentioned do make it, I'd get a little worried. So Mark McKenzie is certainly on that list after Serginho Dest. In the central midfield, somebody has to step up there. Could it be Tanner Tessman, not playing a lot at Lyon? Could it be Aiden Morris, playing well but injured right now? I'm going to go with Johnny Cardoso, who we do believe is going to make a move in the summertime from Real Betis to a top club in the Premier League or La Liga. So while he hasn't looked great on the national team, I feel more confident than with a couple other guys like Chris Richards and stuff that he could really settle in. So Johnny Cardoso's on that list. Malik Tillman, without question, another guy that hasn't looked good in the national team setup but is kicking tail. I should mention I'm not worried about Ricardo Pepi. And I'm not worried about Flo Balogun if he gets healthy. But Malik Tillman, if he can raise the standard a little bit, this U.S. team gets a whole lot better. So you got Dest, McKenzie, Cardoso, Malik Tillman, and the final guy I'll throw in is Gio Reyna. I'm not holding my breath, but hopefully he can fix things. We'll see if he gets a move somewhere from Dortmund. I don't think he's going to get games at Dortmund. He is a luxury player. We can't rely on him, but if he is available and in there, fantastic. But again, I'm going to put him on this list. Hope well that he gets things figured out, and ends up playing a lot of games, which is something that Mauricio Pochettino has requested from his players, the Soccer OG. Like and subscribe us here on these videos. Check out the old one. We're going to have a new studio set up here soon. It's going to look really snazzy in a few weeks. The Soccer OG podcast will be back as well. But in the meantime, enjoy your football. Happy New Year again to everyone. And we'll see you very soon. Be safe out there.